What's up guys, Caden at Speed Industry here, and today we just got a special shipment from Nitron. Now this is Alex's coilovers for his Toyota Supra. You might have seen his car in some other videos. He's actually our sales rep here at Speed Industry, so if you guys need parts or if you email or call, he's the guy that you'll probably talk to. But today we're going to be unboxing it and show you guys what's in the box and what you get with the Nitron R3 coilover kit. So let's get into it. All right, so that's everything in the box. Now we can start opening up what's inside these little boxes. There's so much styrofoam. Dude, these are packaged super well. This thing is nice. Okay, so here we have the front coilover system. As you guys can see, this is the piggyback external reservoir system. And right here you have your helper springs and your main spring here. We're gonna put this down and open up a rear coilover. These are packaged super well. You have your spring here. So this right here is your rear shock with your external reservoir, and Alex also opted for the quick disconnect. Let's take a look what's inside this here. This is what looks like is the rear shock mount, and this would be mounted here on the top, like something like that. And this is obviously the spring. Oh wow, this is nice. I really like how this is laid out, and I really like how it's packaged. Your unboxing experience with the Nitron's coilover set, definitely 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Okay, so here are the coilovers all in their glory on the table here. We have the front here with the front camber plate. We have the rear shock here with the quick disconnects here. We have the top collar mount, and of course the spring. So looking at the front coilover system here, obviously this is a true coilover system where the rear is a divorce, but we'll get to that later. Just looking at the up close details of this coilover, you could really tell that a lot of time and effort was made for this coilover, and even all the little hardware that you have in here. But that's it for the front. Now let's go back to the rear. What you might notice with the rear is that the strut and the spring is separated because the Supra, as you might know, has a divorced rear suspension setup. You can opt for a true suspension setup for the rear, but Alex opted for the divorce setup because he wanted a lot more space in the wheel well so he could run a bigger wheel spec. And another thing you might notice with the external reservoir is this super big line with this external quick disconnect. Now this is an option that you can get, which I highly recommend, because when you go and install this shock itself, there's nowhere to really mount this in the wheel well, so you have to put this on the interior of your vehicle. And if you put this on the interior of your vehicle, this reservoir is too big, so you'll have to cut a huge hole. So with the quick disconnects, you can feed the quick disconnect line through the hole, so you don't have to make any cutting modifications to your Supra. You're already spending a pretty good amount on these coilovers. Might as well spend the extra $1 of the nice luxury of the quick disconnect system. Now, if you did want to mount the external reservoir near the wheel well, which I do not recommend, especially for heat, it'll make it harder on yourself to adjust the low speed and high speed compression, because on the reservoir, this is where the knobs are. So having on the interior of the vehicle makes it for a much better experience when you're wanting to adjust on the fly at the track. Plus, having it on the interior of your vehicle will help prevent the reservoirs from getting too hot. You don't want the exhaust to heat up the reservoirs or anything like that. It just makes it so the fluid will be a little bit cooler. And on the shock itself, on the bottom here, you have your rebound adjustment and you have your bump stop here. And this right here is your top collar. You're gonna mount this to the top here, and this is what you're gonna mount to the chassis of the vehicle. And this right here is the spring, obviously. What you might notice is on the top is your adjustment collar and your adapter plate right here. As you might know, the springs on the Supra is a progressive spring. If you want to put a smaller spring, like a coilover spring like this, you will need this adapter, which Nitron obviously has provided. Now, another thing that you guys might notice is that these coilovers have helper springs. Now, helper springs are softer springs that assist in maintaining the tension and the certain preload and certain travel ranges, especially when the main spring compresses. So that means that the helper spring will compress during a light load application, like you're going over a small bump, but then once this compresses, it'll apply that force to the main spring itself. In my opinion, the helper spring just kind of adds that more comfortness to your car and adds that extra performance gain. Now, these coilovers specifically are the R3. Now, that means that these are a three-way coilover. So a three-way coilover means that you have three different things to adjust. You have your low speed, your high speed, and your rebound. Now, on the coilover itself, these adjustment knobs are your low speed and high speed. the low speed being the silver knob here and the high speed being the black knob. And on the top here, you have your rebound adjustment knob. Now what rebound is how fast the shock slash damper extends after being compressed. Low speed compression is how the damper resists compression under slower inputs like body roll, braking, acceleration, or steering. High speed compression is how the damper handles faster inputs like hitting bumps, curbs, or track surface irregulations on the track. So these coilovers are marketed towards that super serious track guys. And if you want to split between the track and daily driving, I do recommend the R3 Electrons, which talk to the car's automatic dampening system. And like I said, these are Alex's coilovers, and he didn't opt for the Electrons because he doesn't need the automatic dampening system because his car is a full dedicated track car. His car is super sick. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it is an absolute beast of a car. There's a lot of time and money put into that thing, and he's gonna be taking these coilovers to the test in November. So I'm super excited to see how he likes these coilovers. So today we're just gonna be looking at what you get out of the box. So what is Nitron? Nitron is a UK-based company. They're super popular out in the UK for their BMW and Porsche systems, and being the Supra being a BMW, they really know how to make a coilover system for the Supra, and this is what they have done, and this is what's on the table with us today. Now what makes these coilovers special is these external reservoirs here slash piggybacks. The external reservoirs help dissipate the heat. When you're driving the car super hard, you don't want your coilovers to be super hot. It can really alter the performance, and having more fluid and having the reservoir means that the heat can dissipate a lot easier, thus resulting in better endurance applications. Now, as for maintenance, you do have to maintain these coilovers, and no, I'm not talking about cleaning it or anything like that. You will have to actually take them off and send them into service. Nitron does recommend to regularly service these coilovers. Now, it does depend on how hard you drive. If you're tracking this car every single day, you would want to maintain them a little bit more frequently. Maybe expect to service them from 20,000 to 30,000 miles, just depending on how thorough you want to be with your track car. Super nice product from Nitron itself, and they have thought of everything. And I'm just super stoked for Alex to install this coilover system. I'm really hyped to see what he thinks about it when he hits the track, but that'll have to be for a different video. If you guys want to see some more information on the Nitron coilovers, I'll have a link in the description below that'll show you guys all the different options that we have on our site of the Nitron coilovers. As we have the R1, the R1 Electron, the R3s, and the R3 Electrons, there is a ton of different options that you guys can do, especially with spring rates and whatnot. So I highly recommend you guys check that out. So that'll be it for today's video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.